Welcome everybody to another episode of Go Little Garage. Today's model is the Ford Shelby Cobra. Kit number 42138 came out January of 2022. This is a Technic series. Age range is 9+, 544 pieces, available retail. If you are a LEGO VIP member and you follow our link in the description, number one, you'll be helping us out, but if you're a VIP member, you'll also get 325 points for this kit from lego.com. So without further ado, let's get going on building this kit. All right, let's get into it. is it. That is the Ford Shelby Cobra. I like the car. I got some words about the instructions, but we'll get into that in the scoring. Overall, it's a good kit. I like how they did the hood. I think they could have put a little bit more in here to make it a little bit more impressive when you open the hood, but overall, I think it's a cool car. It's pretty solid, pretty rigid. It doesn't feel like any parts are gonna pop off if I flex it weird. So yeah, it's a good car. There's a lot of stickers that had to be lined up perfectly, and some of those were a little bit difficult. Like I screwed this one up a little bit. It looks okay, but I'll know. It wasn't bad. I wasn't sitting here dreading it, waiting for it to be over. Oh my goodness, so many pieces. It was reasonable for what you have here, especially for the size. There were some pretty complex pieces, like back here, the bumper. I mean, they're kind of necessary. I don't know if they could have done anything different there. I think the motor pieces down here, the spring backup pieces were the easiest part of the complexity, so that when you pull it back and push the button or push it with the key that we made and then pulled out, well, there we go. It'll take off and you can race with it. There was a couple pieces that were, you know, a little bit overly complex, but all in all, it's good. They used a lot of big pieces here, big pieces for the door. They used the pieces well and didn't make it overly complex. I was frustrated for the flow and the instructions. There was a couple times where I was just, you might be able to catch it in the high speed, you might not. I took stuff apart and did it my own way because I got the intent of what they were trying to do. The instructions were, for the most part, okay. I'd say they were 60% okay. There was a lot of bad ideas in the instructions. A lot of things could have been done better, could have been put differently better. The flow could have been a lot better. They were both bad. Like the dash, when we're putting the dash together and we're putting one piece at a time for each step. Like that could have been one step and then sub steps like they have for a bunch of other stuff in here. And we could have put more than one piece on at a time. I was kind of disappointed with that because there was a couple times where I took it apart and did it my own way, like I said. This thing is stout. For a Technic model, it's sturdy. Like I said earlier, it's not gonna pop apart if you flex it. I mean, if you flex it too hard, obviously you're gonna rip it apart, but there's a lot of these little pins and stuff. Rather than the little clicks, they have the pins that go all the way through. They did a really good job. And I understand why they did that, because this is meant to be played with the pullback, so it needed to be stout. For the complexity that the Technic is versus the solid brick models of the Speed Champions, they did a really good job. It's a great display size. Even if you're not gonna play with it, which I'm probably not, more than just what I've done. I mean, okay, I'll be real. I'll probably play with it a couple times, probably on the floor, see how far I can go. But it's a great display size without taking up a lot of shelf room, without taking up a lot of table room. It's a good size. It's about 118, and that's a great display size. And it'll match your other 118 if you have die-cast cars like I do. It'll go up on the shelf, and it'll pretty closely match it. It's probably like 117 or 116. I don't want to go get my die-cast to compare it, but it's pretty close to a 118 scale model, which is a great display size. It's big enough to look at. It's big enough to have detail, but it's not too big so that you can't put it anywhere. I am surprised with the realism on what they did in a Technic model. Obviously this front end is a little chonky here, kind of aggressive, but it's still really good for a Technic model. They have the ground effects here. The body sculpting is pretty freaking accurate. This is a great realistic model. They have a little diffuser here with the quad exhaust, the dual exhaust, the hood with the little hood vents here. This is a great model, and the stripe. I love how they build. I love it when they do this and they build the stripes with the pieces, not just the stickers. To me, that's a better way to do it if you can, because it's more rigid. It's gonna hold up longer and better than the stickers. The pieces are not gonna fade like the stickers are eventually if it's sitting in sunlight. I like when they do that, especially back here. You can see the black with diffuser and the stripes back here are pieces, they're not sticker. There are a couple stripe stickers, but that was kind of necessary because this goes into the windshield here, and then up here on the slant and this crossbar with the little hood pin details here. There obviously wasn't any way to do that with pieces, but all of the other ones are pieces, and I really dig that. I think it's great. They did a great job. Yeah, I like it a lot. It says 9 and up. I think it's pretty accurate. There's a couple parts where it was kind of frustrating even for a childish adult like me, but it was not too bad. If this was not a pullback racer and they put more detail in the engine, they just made a display model, I would definitely think that it would be 10, 11, 12 and up with some of the pieces, and that would add some complexity to it, and that would add some more pieces. But I think 9 and up is accurate. I enjoyed it. I liked seeing it come together, especially the front end. That was really cool. I like when you're putting pieces together and you don't know what they're really gonna go to, and then they have the little sub pieces, and then you get it, it kind of clicks in your mind, and you're like, oh, that's a really cool way to do this, and it starts coming together, and it comes together relatively quickly. I like that. I don't want to wait an hour to see any kind of, you know, realism pieces in the car. So I had fun on this one. I mean, I've had fun on all of them, so that's not really a good judge. But overall fun fact, I think anybody else would have fun on this. It was kind of a buzzkill with those instructions, with the couple little flow hiccups that I came across. Those were kind of a buzzkill. And then this piece back here, it's kind of weird how they put that on. This was an inexpensive model. I got this one at Costco. So they're available pretty much everywhere, and it was, I think this was the second one I bought. Obviously not the second one I built, but I snagged it because of the price. So what you get in a stout model that's a 118-ish size, that is a good size model, a pretty realistic, and just a good looking model. I love the color. I love the bright, vibrant color of it. The pullback does nothing for me. If you're a younger kid, that might be cool. I can't speak to that because I'm not a 9-year-old, but when I was, I think I would find it cool, but that was a bygone era. But right now, I enjoyed putting this model together, and for the price that I got it for, I think it's worth every penny of it. I think it's great. And off we go with the Ford Mustang Shelby GT500, kit number 42138. This is a good to build kit that also looks good. Building it took about the average time, so it gets a 9. On complexity, there were a few areas that were a little more than what they needed to be, but since there weren't that many, this gets an 8. Both the flow of the build and the instructions left much to be desired, with the many steps of single pieces and jumping around, so both of these each earn a 3. These issues, however, don't detract from the construction. As mentioned in the review, being designed to be played with rather than just displayed, this model had to be sturdy, and it is. 10 for this one. The completed size is just about perfect. Our gold standard for this category is a 118 die-cast model, and this is as close as we've seen in a LEGO kit so far, earning it another 10. The realism is pretty close too. They did a good job with body sculpting and using big panels rather than small pieces, so it's smooth and not jagged and blocky. Unfortunately, still being a Technics kit, they sacrificed a little realism by default, knocking it down to an 8. We've seen a trend lately with the age accuracy being pretty spot on, and this one continues right on that trajectory, earning another 10. This kit was fun not only because of the build itself, but the vibrant colors and the pullback feature takes it to a next level. Part of the reason I bought this kit in the first place was the bright lime green. Unfortunately, the instructions and the flow of the build keep this kit from getting another perfect 10 here and drags it down to an 8. The value of this kit's phenomenal. You get a lot for your money here because not only is it relatively inexpensive, but kids can continue to play with it after it's built and not in the normal tear down and rebuild kind of way. 10 for this one. Add it all up, this Ford Mustang Shelby GT500 gets a pretty reasonable 79. This is one I like having on the shelf because it's an eye-catcher. If you want this kit for your collection, you better act now because it's rumored to be retiring by the end of 2023. It is making some room for some great new additions though. I'm looking forward to the Ford GT and the NASCAR Camaro coming out in March, as well as the new Speed Champions kits. But for now, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.